Hello, my name's Chad Smith, and in this session we're going to take you through some basic and logical steps that you can take to generate a complex hip roof such as what you can see on screen at the moment. What makes this particular roof a little more complicated than just a standard one? Firstly, it has multiple hips and valleys, as you can see there. It has over on towards the side here a lower part on the roof, as though it had a step in the floor or in the entire house. That actually happens on both sides of this roof, as you can see here. And thirdly, if we come across to the portico over the entry, we can see that we have a roof that overhangs another part of the roof, as you can see through here. Now, this type of roof cannot be done using just a single roof object. So what we need to do is break it down into multiple roof elements and amend them afterwards in order to get this whole roof that we can see here. So I'm just going to switch over here. I've just got a couple of design options in place. You don't need these. They're purely so that I can skip through these steps a bit quicker. The first thing that I tend to do when planning out how to put together a complicated hip roof is to just do a single roof. And you can see here, the single roof will give you a general idea as to how the overall final product will probably look. Okay, clearly we need to step the back there, and this portico needs to be at high, but it just gives us a rough idea and is a good starting point. Once you've worked out what you need, in this case here, because this back part is stepped and therefore lower, it needs to be a separate roof. The portico, which is higher in this case, is higher and therefore needs to be a separate roof. And because this portico roof and this lower roof at the back here basically separate the two sides, we'll probably have one each on those sides as well, giving us 4 roof objects. So let's come over to this design option that I have, where I've got a couple of roof objects already modeled. Now you'll notice these roof objects are already modeled so that they're bigger than they need to be, and this is one of the keys to getting this to work. It doesn't matter that these roof objects currently overlap, because we're going to cut them back, giving them their final shape, but they certainly need to be bigger than they need to be as a starting point. Now, I'm just going to swap over to a plan view, and you can see here, this is how it looks in plan. I have color-coded these just to make them a little bit clearer for the presentation as well. And we can already start to see that we've got a couple of roof joins, I guess you can call them, where you can see here that there might be a valley along here, there might be another one along here, for example, or a hip. It could be either. And you'll also notice, if I go back to the 3D view here, that we've got these two roofs that are intersecting, such as what we have between the red and the blue one. Now, a little trick here is, even though we know that this might be a valley that runs down between this intersecting location just here, when we go and modify the roof, we're not actually going to get any kind of snappable behavior between those two objects because they're not really joined together. So a little tip is to firstly just join the objects together using the Join Geometry tool that's up here on the Modify tab. Okay. When we join the blue roof with the red roof, we actually get a nice join line down there, and that'll actually become a snappable edge for when we start mapping out what we're taking away from these roofs. I'm going to come across and just do a join geometry on this green and blue roof as well. Let me go back to a floor plan, and now we can use some of these joins as references so that we can start cutting parts of these roofs away. The tool that I'm going to use is up in the Architecture tab over on the Opening panel, and it is the Vertical Opening tool. This green roof seems like a fairly logical place to start, so I'm going to select it, and using some of these join lines, such as along here, I'm going to bring it up to this ridge. I'm going to come back down towards this location. Clearly, where the red and the blue roofs were joined together, that's actually a valley in there, so we're going to come as far down to here as we need to, and we're actually getting rid of this part of the green roof. So I'm actually going to just run this all the way across and back, and just making sure that I've got this nice and neat in the corner here, like so. All right, just hitting the finish button. All right, you can see there that we've got that part of the roof cut away. We can continue. Let's go and start that vertical opening tool again, and this time do it on the blue roof. And using some of those same locations, and I'm actually going to do this in two parts. I need to cut this one back this direction first, okay, because we can't come around the extent of that roof as another whole object that is part of this same sketch. So I'm going to finish that off. And then once again, just use that same vertical opening tool to pick this, and it actually comes down in this direction at 45 degrees until it hits the ridge. Okay, comes back in, say, this direction, down to about here, across here, and then just roughly coming it back to here like so. So you can see there that we've actually had to use two opening objects on that same blue roof. If I go to the 3D view, you can see here those joins are now coming together quite nicely at those ridges between the intersecting point of the green and the blue roof. And we would continue to use this concept on the red and the yellow roofs as needed until we have this final result.